I just felt like making a little blog video to get some things off my mind. First of all, I made a video this morning where I was going into the city using an Uber, and the connection was really, really bad because the problem is when you go live, if you are not near, cell signals and everything. I was on the Van Wyck, and the traffic was ridiculous. So, the connection to the cellular satellites was horrible. So, for people who say, "Oh yeah, you screwed up that video," yeah, you're absolutely right, but it wasn't really my fault. It's not my fault that when you go live, it's like you're limited to what cellular connection you have. But anyway, we're basically on the eve of being able to order the iPhone X, right? So we're on the eve of being able to order the iPhone X, and yeah, I was looking. CNN made a video that said, "Yeah, good luck ordering the iPhone X because most likely you're not going to be able to get one." And it occurred to me that first of all, I find it amazing that none of these fake news journalists are talking about the things that I talk about. Like some people complain me of complaining too much, but the thing about it is I'm hitting on real points. First of all, they kept on talking about, oh yeah, well the iPhone's $1,000. Why is it $1,000? It's too high. Thing about it is this thing's not really $1,000. This thing's more than that. It's $1,149. The problem with this thing is that it costs, yeah, it starts at 1,000, but let's say you go for the T-Mobile version because that's the version everybody's gonna want to get because it's unlocked. Let's say you pick the space gray version. Your real problem is right here. The problem is you only get two choices. You get a 64 gigabyte and a 256 gigabyte. There's no 128. I don't understand what the hell is going on over at Apple because it seems to me Steve Jobs would have physically attacked or killed somebody for making the kind of mistakes that they're making over at Apple. It's like the MacBook Pro, for instance, only had 16 gigabytes. It wasn't upgradable to 32. The Apple Pencil charged by sticking out of the bottom of the fucking iPad or the phone. And I'm like, if this man was alive, he would have tried to kill one of these people. And like, for instance, also I was thinking about the Apple Watch, right? Whose stupid idea was it to put this big red ugly dot on the fucking watch? Like, I'm trying to figure out like whose stupid idea was that? Like Apple has a symbol that's on the iPhone, and the symbol basically says cellular service, right? So there's that like okay, so what is it? Apple iOS 11 dashboard, right? And they have a symbol that talks about cellular service. They actually have a symbol for it, like it's right here. You see that symbol? You see that green symbol? Why couldn't the people who designed the Apple Watch just take that green symbol, which Apple has unanimously said means cellular service? Why couldn't they just take that green symbol and put that on the side of the watch in gray? What moron said, yeah, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna take a big red dot and we're gonna put that shit right here on the dial. I've never seen anything as inelegant and as ridiculous as that. Like if I was Steve Jobs must be rolling or spinning in his grave right now because I know he wants to come back to life to kill some of these people. I know he does. Because you remember Steve Jobs, he would physically attack people. Like if it came down to it, he would kick your ass if you came up with a stupid concept. Steve Jobs would attack somebody. Yeah, you're right. Deuce 40. This looks like a record button. We never have a red button for anything other than recording shit or ending a call. Ending a call. I don't understand who at Apple came up with this bullshit. So then, okay, I go back and I digressed. The MacBook Pro only had upgrades to 16 gigabytes of memory. Now, we know that Apple gets further on its memory than anything else because they have memory management software that's better at managing memory and whatever, whatever. Thing about it is, people wanted 32. They got the money to pay for 32. And by the way, when people are buying Apple products, a lot of these people are using student loans. Don't believe the hype that these people are using their own money. One of the reasons why we're a trillion plus in debt is because a lot of these kids are using their student loans to buy Apple products, for one, to buy Starbucks every freaking day. They're eating Starbucks and Au Bon Pain, and they're trying to pretend like they're cool and rich. These hipsters who are broke and poor and gonna live in mom's basement for a very long time of their natural lives. They're using their student loans to buy this stuff. So when you see a person with a MacBook Pro, you should ask them to see the receipt. Because for the most part, they ain't pay $2,800 for one of those damn things. They use student loan money to do that, and they'll probably be indebted to the government forever behind some liberal arts degree that they can't get a job in. So anyway, this is the iPhone X, and what bastard who the fuck said, "Oh yeah, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna have pre-orders start at 12 a.m. Pacific Standard Time." I live in New York City, not freaking California. I don't live in Washington and I don't live in Oregon. When I want to pre-order this shit, you're telling me that I gotta wake up 3 hours early to be able to pre-order this fucking thing? Now, I'll give credit where credit's due. I'm glad that Apple has made it so that we can pre-order them. Because if you remember, I made a video where I was waiting in line for the iPhone 6, and there was a mob of Chinese people, and they bought them all up and then took them and shipped them back to China so they could sell them at high prices, right, all around the globe. But now you can't really do that because you have to pre-order this thing, right? So in having to pre-order it, they make sure that they have exactly how many they need, and you can walk into the store and just pick it up. And Kratos 1980, no, you can't simply walk into the store and buy it. You have to pre order it. If you do not pre order it, you can be absolutely certain that you're not getting one on release day. Me personally, you know me, I get one every single release day. Now, my iPhone 7 256 gigabyte plus, I'm actually going to give that to my girl, and she can use that one so I don't feel like I lost any money on it. Usually I sell these things on eBay and I try to get back as much money as possible, and then I go buy the new one. Thing about it is I made so much money this year that even at $1,200, this thing's not going to hurt me at all. So I'm just going to buy it. And my thing is, I'm also, and I got to raise this point, I'm not sold on the lack of a home button. And the second thing, what asshole made it so that you still have this thing and you don't have a perfect rectangle when you're watching videos? I swear to God, if Steve Jobs was alive, he would wreak havoc in the Apple design team. That his skeleton and his muscles that are left over and his bones and fibers of his body and his spirit would come back alive and choke Tim Cook to death. For look at this. What? How the hell am I supposed to watch a video with that shit right there? How the hell am I supposed to not pay attention to the fact that 50% of the area on the side of the screen is missing? It doesn't make sense. And why is there no home button? Even these pathetic Android phones have a home button on the back, like the LG Stylo. When I heard, okay, they're going to take the home button off the front, I assumed that this entire face was going to be a filled in glass rectangle. These assholes let this shit stay right here. It's like, who came up with that? That doesn't make any goddamn sense. It doesn't make any sense. And all they had to do is just put the fingerprint scan on the back. And what's the telling fact is when these morons tried to test this thing at their last Apple event, the damn Face ID didn't even work perfectly. And they, oh yeah, well, maybe there's too many faces, or maybe the room is dark. No, bullshit. What you should have done, morons, is you should have put the Touch ID on the back, and you should have made it so that with my index finger, I could just reach around to the back and touch it, and it would automatically lock in, just like my iPhone 7 Plus. I'm like, who are these people? Like, and you say, oh yeah, well, you just complain. Why are they ruining the goddamn products? They knew better than this. Why? This should be, listen, if you, first of all, I bought into all the rumors and the clickbait, and I expected Apple to say, okay, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna hide the fingerprint scanner right under this glass. So this way you're gonna think you're touching glass, but you're not touching glass, and there's a fingerprint scanner under this. And then I was like, you know what? That kind of doesn't make sense. I don't even think they'll be able to get away with that. So I said, okay, you know what they'll do? They'll take the fingerprint scanner and put it on the back, and you'll be able to touch it with your index finger while you're holding the thing. That made sense. But then you come to find out, okay, yeah, guess what, bitches? No fingerprint ID. We're going to have Face ID. That's it. And now when you're trying to watch your porn at night and you're trying to watch your ex hamster videos, now you have to try to ignore the fact that you can't see all of the porn. You have to ignore the fact that this thing right here is there. I'm like, somebody needs to be fired. In fact, the entire department needs to be fired. I can't understand how these people are getting away with this. Now, I understand how these people think. The simple fact of the matter is the reason why this is there is because they never want anybody to see you using the phone and to not know that it's an iPhone. The iPhone has always had defining features. For instance, it's had the rounded sides, it had the home button right here, it had that little square in the home button. No other phone looks like the iPhone. No other phone is held like the iPhone. The last thing they wanted was for you to just have a simple, flat, rectangular screen, and then for somebody to make the mistake of thinking, oh, well, you've just got a Galaxy, or you got a Samsung, or you got an LG, or one of those shitty Pixel 1s or Pixel 2s. They're shit. And what they did was they put this here so that people walk by and at a glance, they'll look at that and say, oh shit, he's got the iPhone X. In fact, when you put this in your pocket and all they can see is this part, like right here, all they can see is that part sticking out of your shirt pocket, and the government is silently using your camera phone in order to scan the area and take pictures and tap it into your mic, and it's sticking out of your pocket. They want everybody to look at this, and subliminally they'll be like, oh snap, he's got the iPhone X, he's got the X. Hey, can I see your phone? Can I see your phone? They can tell based upon how you're holding your phone what kind of phone you've got. And no, don't say nobody cares this much. Kratos 1980, you got to understand who you're selling to. You're selling to children, you're selling to teenagers, you're selling to college kids, you're selling to adults, yes, but for the most part, the kids are going to have their dumbass parents go out buy these brand new $1,200, $1,000 phones so that they could bring them to school and rock them just like they're doing with their sneakers and their stuff that they're not supposed to have because they haven't worked for it. The simple fact of the matter is, you got to understand, they're selling this stuff to children. Children show shit off. Do not ever make the mistake of thinking, oh, yeah, well, it doesn't really matter what kind of phone you have. Listen, if it didn't matter what kind of phone I had, I could go to Micro Center and I could buy one of those BLU 6-inch screen phones, those gigantic, ugly ass, cheap, Chinese made plastic ass phones. I could buy one of those. But I care about my software. I care about my compatibility. So you only have really two choices. You got Samsung and you got iPhone, right? So basically, iPhone, they screwed up the design of this damn thing, but they did it on purpose because I'm pretty sure somebody said, yeah, we're going to make this all perfectly glass, right? And then somebody said, oh, yeah, but if it doesn't have this part right here, then nobody will know that it's iPhone. And then one of these corporate idiots said, you know what? I think you're right. What we're going to do is we're going to put this section right here so that everybody can see at a glance that it's iPhone. And then what we're going to do is we're going to advertise the shit out of it so that everybody in the back of their mind, yeah, they'll all know that this is the iPhone X right here, because nothing else looks like this. Because nobody at Samsung, nobody at LG, nobody at Pixel making them shitty Pixel phones, nobody would say, hey, you know what? Let's put this shit right here in order so that when people are watching their porno, they have to take their mind off the porno to look at this shit right here. So right here, you've got the woman's legs and you got her arms right here. But this part right here is blocking the view of something. And then you can't even watch your porn at night in pitch black darkness. You can't even watch your porn when you're in landscape mode without knowing that, yeah, guess what? I got an iPhone X. It's the dumbest shit in the world, and they keep doing it. Okay, so they screwed up the MacBook, they screwed up the Apple Watch Cellular, and now they screwed up the iPhone X, and they did it each time on purpose. In fact, let me tell you something. They could have made this entire thing just a screen, right? And right here, you see this button right here? The button on the side that's like the sleep wake button. They could have put a tiny fingerprint scanner in there, just like one of those little lines you see on your computer. They could have put this whole button could have been a fingerprint scanner, and you could have pushed it and it could have done the home thing too, right? No, 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 no. Not these Apple, not these people. No, 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 no. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take away the home button. We're gonna take away Touch ID. We're gonna fuck the front of this phone up so that this way you can't watch your porn without knowing that, yeah, guess what? I got an iPhone X. And then to add insult to injury, which is what I started with, what they did next was say, hey, guess what? You remember all of those people last year who went out and got a 128 gigabyte iPhone when they found out that they didn't have enough space left in their 32s and their 64s in order to download all of this software so that they could firmware update their phone? Yeah, well, guess what, bitches? We're going to get rid of the 128. So now you don't have a 128. Now you only got a 64 for $1,000, and then you got a 256, and you're gonna pay us $1,149 plus tax. Plus tax, you're gonna pay us damn near $1,280, maybe even 13. I really don't know. Oh, and guess what, losers? You got to get that Apple Care Plus because our ugly ass screen might break. So guess what? If that shit breaks, well, now it's gonna cost you $400 or $500 to get this shit fixed by us because nobody else has the manufacturing skill to repair this screen, right? So guess what? Now you got to get Apple Care. So guess what? This thing's gonna be $1,300, you losers, you dumbasses. It's gonna be $1,300. Get your credit cards ready because you're about to get some points. $1,300. So if you have a 128, you ain't got no choice but to get the 256 because there's nothing in the middle. Oh, and it's not just the iPhone X either. Well, look at the one for the iPhone 8. Look at the iPhone 8. Let's see. What are my choices? What are my choices? Let's see. Okay, I want the Plus model. That's the biggest model, right? I should be able to get everything in the biggest model. Oh, okay. Let me get. I'll get silver, right? Oh shit! I can't get a 128 on this one either. So basically, um, I can either pay these people $800 or I can pay them $949, like I did on my iPhone 7 Plus 256 gigabyte. So you have no choice in the middle. No choice at all. Thank you so much for giving me no choice at all in the middle and forcing me to go from $799, $200 more. I gotta pay $949 and I gotta pay tax on that. Thank you so much for fucking me. Thank you so much. And with well, I'll get the iPhone X because this way everybody will know that I got a true upgrade. Oh, I'll get the iPhone X. Okay, so that means now what I've got to do is I've got to pay either $1,000 for a phone that's too small to hold all my shit, or I got to pay you $1,149 plus Apple Care Plus. This is the reason why people are so pro Android. But despite all of the shit that I just talked, I refuse to buy a Samsung anything. I refuse. You know what the problem is? iOS, as much as I hate to be locked into one, I have no choice. I have no choice. I'm locked into iOS because the apps look better, the apps work better, and all of the apps that I've ever purchased are on iOS, and I can't transplant them over to Android. The same would go if I had a Windows phone, which Microsoft, they get a special anger from me because Microsoft could have taken over the phone market with Windows phones, and they completely ruined that shit too because they're not smart. I don't know what's wrong with these people. It's sad. It's so sad. They could have taken over the whole mobile phone industry. They could have had Xbox Live phones, but they screwed up everything. That's all they do. That's all they do is just screw up. That's all they do. They screw up every goddamn thing. That's all they do. You know what? I gotta mute my Xbox. I tell you, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. So basically, what are the options? What are the options if you're looking for a Samsung phone? Well, they got the televisions there, but I don't really need that. So they're switching to Galaxy. I'm not switching to Galaxy. You must be out of your goddamn butt. Now, Samsung, look what they did. They said, yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to make the entire screen one continuous rectangle, and we'll put all that extra shit at the very edge so that this way, when people have their phones in landscape mode and they're watching their porno, there's nothing to confuse their mind as to some ridiculous black spot right here that makes no sense whatsoever when they're trying to watch their porn. So, I have to say, Samsung, yeah, you did the right thing there. I have to say it. I have no choice. I have to say it. I have to give credit what credit's due. They didn't screw us by making it so we can't easily view our porno. So they have one continuous curved rectangle. So let's say if I want the biggest phone they got, so let's see, $950. Well, I guess that's fair, right? I can't argue about that. And then they say, oh, well, you can, hey, bitches, you could throw in a Galaxy Gear Fit on your arm. It doesn't look as elegant as the Apple Watch, but I'm pretty sure it does a hell of a lot more, and it probably has cellular service too that you don't have to spend $500 for or more. So, one of my issues is that Android users demand that they have removable storage and removable batteries. The problem with removable storage is that even though, yeah, you can take out the memory cards, you can upgrade the memory cards. The problem is the memory card speeds of transfer are not as good as iPhone. I use iMovie, and iMovie works perfectly. Even if the phone turns off or shuts down or something like that, I can edit videos without ever losing pace. Samsung doesn't have a single app. Android doesn't have a single app that allows you to edit video as well as Apple iMovie. It just they just don't. So I can't. I just can't. I can't see myself. I can't see myself going to Galaxy. Now, understand, for me, it's not about the money. It either way, I'm going to pay $1,000 for one of these phones. It doesn't really matter. It's not about the money. My problem is iOS is just so goddamn perfect. That's my problem. So I got to go over here because apparently that Torch browser was a little buggy. So so yeah, there's the Samsung stuff. I'm not interested in this shit at all. But you know, I have to look. I have to be objective, right? But see, the problem is I can't leave iOS. I really like iOS, and I really like how the apps run. I like how the apps look. And here's that Galaxy Note 8. And what is it? The specs. And by the way, the CPU specs, like people try to brag about 2.4 gigahertz and 1 gigahertz. None of that shit matters. The simple fact is, year over year, processors get faster and they get more energy efficient. So what you had last year is just not as fast as what you got this year. That's just the bottom line. And then, well, you say who uses Yahoo? Guess what? I use Yahoo. I use Google. So stop making fun of me. But that's just I'm old school like that. So anyway, says you got two. I got two colors. I got midnight black and orchard gray, and then it's 6.3 inches. God damn! I thought it was only going to be like 5 point something. This damn thing is 6.3 inches. I don't know how I'm going to fit it in my pocket. Okay, and okay, all this screen technology shit don't mean nothing to me. It's gonna look good regardless. They say it has an 8 megapixel front. It has a rear dual camera rear. Where's the rear? It doesn't. Does it say megapixels on the back? It says 12 megapixels on the back. Yeah. It says video recording. Now, see, this is another problem. The iPhone X has 4K video recording at 60 frames per second. This phone right here that I'm using right now can only record 1080p at 60 frames, but this Galaxy Note can only record 4K video at 30 frames, just like my iPhone 7 Plus. So I want to be able to shoot my videos in 4K 60 frames per second. In order for me to have that capability, I have to get iPhone X. So that's pretty much the driving reason for me to buy iPhone X. The other reason is because of the 2 hours of battery life increase. The bottom line is my iPhone 7 Plus has a damn good battery for an entire day's worth of work. And 2 hours more added on top of that is pretty damn hard to resist. So, yes, I'd be buying the iPhone X specifically for the camera. It says something about memory. I'm just looking for, and I know it. You know, you can take out the battery. Is what is? I don't know if you can take the battery out of this, but it says it has a 33 100 milliampere battery. My problem with Samsung is Samsung, just to one up Apple, they give you a faster CPU, they give you more RAM. But the problem is, by having more RAM, that causes people to multitask more. The more you multitask, the quicker it runs down your battery, because now your RAM and your CPU is working in the background constantly in order to multitask all that shit that you got running in the background. So ultimately, Apple did the smart thing by avoiding multitasking as much as possible, because what they were trying to do was save on battery life. It's just like when you were talking about haptic feedback years ago. Haptic feedback runs down battery life because haptic feedback uses the vibration motor. So Apple really did do the smart thing by saying, no, in order to keep the phone using as little battery as possible, what we're going to do is we're not going to have the phone vibrate every single time you touch a button. And some phones still vibrate when you touch a button, and I'm pretty sure there's probably a switch for that. But when you have that, you run down your battery quicker. So then Apple, what they did was they got rid of the vibrating motor and they put in that Taptic engine, which is like a linear accelerator, and that makes it so that the thing taps and you feel it, and it feels pretty good. I have to say, I like the Taptic engine. I do like the Taptic engine, but frankly, this Galaxy Note 8, I mean, I don't like the way the apps run. I just don't like it. If I'll tell you this, if the Galaxy 8 ran iOS, yeah, I might buy one over the iPhone, but it doesn't. And another problem is the fact that this thing doesn't have the 4K 60 frames per second. I need the 4K 60 frames per second. Every single year, I get a new iPhone. Every single year, my video recording ability improves slightly. But I have to say, Apple really jumped. Maybe I shouldn't say jump the shark, but Apple's real moment of shine was when they made the iPhone 6, because iPhone 6 had the 5S's 64-bit CPU. It had the Touch ID. It had a great camera that had optical image stabilizer. My iPhone 6 1080p 60 frame per second videos are easily the best looking videos that I've made. Now, I'm planning on going on vacation again, so I'll have an iPhone X with me when I go on vacation. And I'm going to bring my Mophie 8X with me to Dubai, and I'm going to the Philippines. And when I'm in the Philippines, I'm very certain that I'm going to absolutely need that Mophie on me, because with the Mophie, I'll be able to recharge my battery just in case their power goes out, because you know how it is in these little island nations, their power goes out like all the time. So, I absolutely want to have, as much battery life as possible. And, but and that's the thing. It's just that look at this goddamn thing, this camera on this iPhone. Look at this shit. 4K at 30 frames per second and 60 frames per second. 1080p at 60 frames per second. Now, keep in mind, I'm uploading all my videos to YouTube. YouTube cuts down on any video quality automatically. It cuts down on video quality. So I want to have the highest video quality I could possibly have for my vacation videos, because I don't know how many times I'm going to go on vacation this year coming up. I know I'm going to Dubai. I know I'm going to the Philippines. There's also the possibility I might go to Cuba, but I really don't know about that because I don't know what the law is, considering President Trump right now. I don't know what the laws are. So I have to find that out from a travel agent who can hook me up, to go to Cuba. But regardless where I go, I want to be able to record 4K videos at 60 frames per second so that I can use it on my 4K 80-inch television, and I can just sit back, kick back, relax, watch it, and it looks like I'm actually there. And then you have slow-mo video that goes all the way to 240 frames per second. See, the Galaxy Note doesn't do that. The Galaxy Note doesn't have, and that's pretty much, I mean, that's like their best phone. Their slow-mo is 240, but their 4K is limited to 30. That is a problem. I want 4K 60, and I want 2 times more battery life. I want more battery life. So iPhone X. I really don't have a choice. I have to get the iPhone X. So that's basically that. So basically, that's what it comes down to. Right now, I'm using in my hand. I have an iPhone 7 plus 256, and I'm only upgrading because I want the 4K 60 frame per second camera. That's the only reason why I'm upgrading. That and the battery life. The CPU speed, let me tell you, the CPU speed in this iPhone 7 Plus 256 is fantastic. Like right now, I don't even think the real internet has caught up to these phones. The phones are ahead of all the technology, basically. And we're uploading this stuff to social media. Social media cuts back and degrades quality. So basically, the phones are capable of more than you're capable of sharing on like YouTube and Facebook. So frankly, I'm happy with iOS 11. There are a couple of things I would improve on, but Apple will probably get to those eventually. But I'm really pissed off that your capacity is limited and you don't have a 128 gigabyte option. I'm pissed off that there's no. What would have stopped Apple from putting the home button as the Apple logo? Why couldn't Apple have said, you know what we'll do? We'll make a home button that's the Apple logo. It'll be shaped just like the Apple, and it'll also read your fingerprint. What could have stopped them from doing that? But the bigger problem is anybody who buys one of these things is going to slap it in some huge case in order to protect it because they're too goddamn dumb not to drop their phones or sit on them. But my thing about it is with this glass back they have, I don't need a case anymore to protect it simply because I never really used a real case. I only used a cover to protect the metal. I don't like the aluminum getting scratched by things in my pocket like the keys. The glass is fantastic. The glass is optical quality, and I have never had a problem with any objects in my pocket scratching the glass. I never cover my glass. Those screen protectors that you see them giving to children, I don't use those. And every time I see somebody with a screen protector, it's filthy, or the shit is all cracked up and it looks like schist. And anybody who's into geology knows what schist is. Schist, it's a rock that basically peels off. Every single time I see somebody with a screen protector, it looks fucked up. And I don't want my phone to look like that. I want my phone to be pretty. And but this is only 5.8. The Galaxy Note is 6.3 or whatever. But I can't see getting one of those. I just can't see it. It just doesn't do what I want it to do the way I want it to do it. So they can try to sell you all of this shit, this virtual reality shit, like you're in the Matrix or you're on Inception. They can try to sell you all of this shit in order to justify you buying one of these shitty phones. But I'm really sorry. Despite all the bullshit I talked, I'm afraid I have to go with iPhone X.